What's up guys, it's your boy JT and welcome back to my channel JT Plays Games. This is another video in my how-to series, and what I'm going to show you is how I create the thumbnail that I use in my YouTube videos. Also, I'm going to leave a link in the description where you can download a free example of one of these thumbnails free of charge so that you guys can use for your videos. So guys, if you enjoy, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Peace. Alright guys, so the first thing you want to do is get a photo to use as a thumbnail. You want a photo that has something going on in it, so like a character or a weapon that you can highlight and make and pop out and really catch potential viewers' attention. So I go through my game footage and I find a scene where I can screenshot it and use it as my photo. So the idea is to get something, an end result like this. So an example is the screenshot that I've taken here. And what I've done, I've gone through my game footage, so if I just bring that up on screen for you. So I've gone through my game footage, found a nice clear piece of footage where there's no titles or nothing on it. Also, I know in a lot of games, if you have subtitles on, that will kind of ruin obviously your screenshot for a thumbnail, so sometimes you might want to turn that off. But I'll find it, I'll pause it and I'll just literally screenshot this, and that will get us to this point over here. And once we're on this point here, what we need to do, the first thing is open up a new document in Photoshop, and what we need to do is select 720p because that's the size of a YouTube thumbnail, so 1280 by 720. So I don't know why it's looking a bit funny guys on here, but if I choose create, let me do it on my other screen. So if you click the create button, you'll get a blank 1280 by 720 document. So the first thing you want to do is go copy your image. So highlight your image, Control A or Command A on Mac, Command C, Control C, copy it and paste it in. As you can see, that image is much bigger than the 1280 by 720 page that we just created. So the first thing you want to do is hit layer, and under layer, under image, under layer you want to hit smart objects and click convert to smart object. As soon as you do that, that will help when you're resizing to keep resolution. The second thing you want to do is hit Control T or Command T, which will transform, and you want to now resize the image to fit this 1280 by 720 document. So if we get it to about there, we should be in, and if we're happy with that, we're good to go there. Yeah, and we can just do that. And so now the next thing that we want to do is start masking out the photo. So what bit of this photo do we want to pop out? And obviously on this photo I want my Mustang here, I think it's GT350, to pop out. So the first thing I'm going to do is zoom in a little bit so I can be a bit more accurate, and then I'm going to select the pen tool on the left, and all I'm going to do is work my way around the car. So by clicking around, just keep going around the car, try being as accurate as possible, and just keep working your way around the car. And what I'll do guys, I'll just speed this up for you now, but it doesn't take too long, it will take a couple of minutes. Okay guys, and you want to get it to this point here, and once you're at this point here, you're going to right click and click make selection, and it's going to come up saying your feather radius and whatnot. I normally leave it at 0.3, and what that will do is now select this part of the image. So now I'll press Control C or Command C to copy it, click on a new layer and paste. Sometimes it moves a little bit and it will like paste it a little bit up like that, so make sure you line it back up again. Okay, so now you've got a new layer. So if we turn the original layer off, you can see it's a cutout of the car. And obviously it doesn't look perfect and nice and round, and you can do that with the pen tool if you click and drag to make it perfectly curved. But what we're going to do is actually start, we are going to start putting some effects on it, and by putting some stroke or some glow on it, that'll kind of smoothen it out a little bit to the eye. So you can put something called a stroke if you click the FX and go to stroke, and you'll see that. But sometimes you might see that there's a gap inside the stroke. So let's just make it white first so it's nice and clear. And what you can do, that position outside you can change to inside, it makes it closer in, or you can put it as center, which is exactly on the line that you masked. But recently, I used to use the stroke, but recently I've stopped and I'm using an outer glow. So if I put an outer glow like that, and what you can do, you can make obviously the spread less if you wanted, and so we don't want it too crazy, but say if we done that, there we go, put it on about 13. What you also can do is use an inner shadow, and that will light up the inside of that mask. So say if we done it red, you'll see around the edges there. Sometimes you want to do that to make it pop out a little bit, so we'll put it on about 54%. So now we're at the point where we've masked that against the original image. So if I zoom out for a second and fit it onto screen, you'll see, okay, we've got this bit popping out now. So if we look back to the example, it's quite similar. The next thing we want to do is start working on the background. So this layer here has got all of our effects to the car, and this is the background layer. So now we can completely adjust the background layer, paint it, whatever we want to do, and we'll still have this on top nice and clean. So if we go to filter, you can use different blurs. You can use Gaussian blur like this, and kind of make it stupidly blurred, or you can make it a little bit less like that, and so on and so forth, which is one that I use as well. But because this is a racing game, let's try looking for something else, like a motion blur maybe. Actually, motion's a bit more sideways. There is another one here somewhere. Let's try radial blur. Actually, no, not a radial blur. If we look at, actually, you know what? We'll go with a motion blur. We'll go with a motion blur, and we'll put it at about 22, and you can see I adjusted the angle a little bit. We'll put it about there, and there we go. That makes it pop a little bit. We can also add a bit of Gaussian blur to it. Let's put it about there. And if you really want it to pop, especially with your text being a different colour, you can just select a colour that you like. So let's go with a red, for example. And if we pick a brush and make it massive, the size of the brush, so look, I've got it at 5,000. And if I click, what it'll do is do something like that. So now, first of all, the car stands out crazy compared to the background. And second of all, when we have text on top of it, and if we have a white outline on the text like we do with the car, that will stand out crazy too. So the next step is adding text. So what we could do is just put some text in. I use Zoom, if that's what it's called, and once I add the text, for example, I'll just show you quickly. What you can do is, so let's make it just white, for example. Actually, that was a bad idea, but say if we make it white, we can go down here and click on the FX and do the same stroke on the outside, and if we make that black, you'll see how that looks for a second. So we can, there we go, highlight the edges like that, we can put glows on it and whatnot. But what I'm going to do to save a bit of time is just copy one that I've used before. So if we go on here and I copy, say, the crew to text and the gameplay walkthrough text, and we go to back to our thumbnail here, what we can do, we can drag that and put it here. And guys, you're going to have a copy of this, so you can copy and paste these text layers, change the colours as you want. So I'm going to do an example here. We're going to change gameplay walkthrough, and we're going to change it around a bit so you guys can see what's going on. So the first thing, I put a gradient overlay on. That makes it white to red. So if we change that, let's go for like a gold kind of a gold look. So if we go in here, click on that, and let's pick like a yellow like that. See, look, that looks pretty decent itself. But if we change this red to more of an orange, maybe we'll get something like that, and that also pops out. You see that on a lot of Call of Duty thumbnails. So you can do something like that maybe. And what that does, that really pops out now against the background. You need to be careful, you don't want to use the same colour. You don't want to use red text and a red background, and then especially like a red car or a gun or whatever you're using. So you could do something like that. The next thing I've done is then put this episode 2, and that was simple. All I've really done was cut out that shape and then write episode 2 on top. So I could, what I normally do to save time, I just copy both layers, paste it on, and then move it down to the bottom over here. And once we're here, we can just go and amend the text and then call it episode 3, 4, whatever you want to do, so that we're exactly consistent with it on every thumbnail in that series. And then another thing you want to do is notice how now my text is behind the car. If you ever wanted that the other way, what you can do is move the text above. So if that's the car up there, layer 2, if we move that text, gameplay walkthrough above, you see we're now on top. But I think it looks much better if it's underneath, because it looks like you made the effort and you've done some editing on that thumbnail. Especially when you start moving the thumb, when you have different thumbnails and it's like that, for example, then it looks like you've done a bit of work to it. It's a bit more professional. And then the last thing, really, guys, just a little quick thing you can do. If you want the same effects that you applied to the car around the edges, you can click on that layer, and what we can start doing is cutting some shapes out to give it a bit of depth. So if we zoom out for a second, and then if we go to the lasso tool, and I think it's command, no it's not, it's option or alt, and you left click, and we'll start from outside, and what we'll do is click in and we'll just make some shapes. So if we go a little bit like this, and don't be afraid to do them quite long as well. You don't have to do the shape, obviously, you can do whatever you want to do, but you'll see how it looks in a second. Because what it's going to do, we can fill it with a colour, and then it will have the same stroke and glow as on the outside of the car as well, and that will make it pop out a little bit against that dark reddish kind of background. Usually I wouldn't make the background that dark either, or sometimes what I do, like I've done on my DSLR video that I've uploaded, guys, check that one out, that's a useful tip as well, is just put a gradient on the background, like a purple to white. So let's just finish this around here somewhere, and what I'll do is work my way back around, and there we are, and you can see that's what we got now. So let's pick, I don't know, let's pick a gold or something. Let's pick this colour here, yep, and hit the paint brush. Make sure we clicked on layer 2, which is a car one, if we want the effects that apply to it, and click in there, and you'll see we've got them effects applied to it, and you can see it just makes it pop out a little bit. What you can do obviously is turn down the outer glow, because it's a bit much, to be honest. So if we turn it down a little bit, like there, you've got something like that. And maybe this ain't the best example for it, maybe I should have just done it in white, but you get my drift. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much it, but obviously you can use it in different circumstances, different games, where it pops out more. If you just look through my thumbnails on my channel, you'll see how different each one is. Sometimes I do the coloured background, sometimes I don't, depending on what game, what kind of screenshot I've got, what I'm working with. But guys, it's just very basics for beginners, and I've only started this a month and a bit ago, and this is completely new to me. And once you start doing it, you'll notice after each thumbnail you'll learn something new, you'll do a bit of adjustment and think, oh, I can start using that from now on. So guys, it's as simple as that. Stay committed, keep practicing, and you'll get better and better thumbnails as you go on. Like I said, I'm going to leave a link to this file in the description, so you've got all the layers and the text and whatnot, so feel free to reuse them. So guys, if you enjoyed, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Thank you very much for your support. Peace.